Reverend Fathers on the staff, Reverend Sister Superiors, and my dear students. Secular and the sacred, understanding the inner dynamics. What forces are at work between the secular and the sacred? This presentation aims to unearth certain undercurrents that we, as heralds of the good news today and as scholastics, should be aware of if we are to understand the resurgence and new forms of religion nowadays. I will be doing this mainly drawing from Charles Taylor, a contemporary Canadian philosopher. Now, it's very common that we hear people saying, I am born in a Hindu family, but I am secular. Or you might have heard people saying, I am born in a traditional Christian family, but now I am secular. Perhaps you might have heard this about a Muslim too, but maybe very rarely. When you hear this, there is already a kind of an atheistic flavor to that comment. It feels to us that there is a very narrow boundary between being secular and being a traditional believer. We cannot also say that being secular is something totally atheistic or negative. We cannot get rid of it. Why? Because it is almost like being modern. It's another synonym for being modern. If you say you don't accept secularism, you are not secular, it's almost saying like you are not modern, you are outdated. Now, secularization has got different meanings. In the general principle, it implies a kind of death of religion. It's a process by which religion goes away. As the science progresses, religion should go away. Or we can say religion should go away because it is based on authority. And in our contemporary times, no one likes to be under authority. Each one is an autonomous human being. So secularization in the classical sense means all these kind of things. In nutshell, we can say secularization implies demise of religion. But can we just get rid of secularization having that understanding, as it is also a synonym for being modern? Now people say, we are modern, we are secular, we are united rationally as a community, and it is the sacred, it is the religion that divides us. That's another accusation. So there are a lot of things behind this term being secular. Now first, let's go back to the origin of this word so that we get the context of the whole dialogue. Now we can make a distinction between purely religious activities and other activities. So that is where the word secular originally came in. It was to differentiate between priests or religious who were in monasteries and priests or religious who were in the social field, working in other areas. So they were called secular priests, whereas others were in the monasteries, purely involved in religious activities. So let's call it secularity 1. That is the first meaning of secular. And then later in the modern age, during the French revolutions, secular was used to denote a separation between state and religion. Secularity meant the state has no religion, no official religion, or the religion has nothing to do with the guidance of the state, the rule of the state. They should be entirely separate. And that is secularity 2. And then in the contemporary times, we have a different meaning. Secularity means disappearance of all transcendence. It is a meaning projecting reason as opposed to faith. So being secular simply means having no faith in any transcendental being. So that is the secularity 3. So let's keep this in mind, because all these meanings are at play when you say we are secular. Now we can agree with the first two. In India, for example, we agree to secularity 2, saying that the state should have no official religion. or the religion shall not interfere in the affairs of the state. It should be secularly guided. But then, it is not that simple. There is a philosophical background to this whole thing. Now, you might have studied in Descartes. He has a famous saying, something in the world transcends rationally. Now, you know, Descartes was fighting the atomists, who are materialists, who said there are only material things in the world. There is nothing beyond that. Then he started the dialogue by saying there is something that transcends rationally at least. And that was very acceptable to people, and God belonged to that realm. But when Spinoza came in, he told, nothing transcends rationality. See the subtle change there. Nothing transcends rationality. Rationality can explain everything, or everything is explicable through rationality, including God. Here you can find a kind of forerunner of secular rationality. Now we have to understand the background of Spinoza. See, he had to stress rationality because it was a time of religious wars, witch hunt, so much of bloodshed in the name of religion, superstitions. So that's why Spinoza stressed the element of rationality, and it was necessary for religion in order to purify it of its superstitious elements. All the more, now God is equated with rationality, and divine commandments are all of reason. Therefore, through reason, one can easily reach God. There was no doubt about that at the time of Spinoza. But the problem was that in Spinoza, rationality meant a kind of scientific, purely mathematical, geometrical rationality. You are all students of philosophy, you might have already learned these things. So there is reason now, a secular reason, mathematical reason, scientific reason, which is devoid of all sentiments. Those sentiments either personal or religious. All those elements are taken out of reason. Rationality becomes purely secular. Now this movement within philosophy looks unproblematic. It is good to have our emphasis on rationality if that rationality helps us to reach God. But then this idea of secular reason spread like wildfire. And what is the reach of it? If you have to understand this, we have to focus on another magical word, that is disenchantment. It's a word used by Max Weber. Disenchantment and the rise of the secular. In one sentence, we can say the secular reason disenchanted this world. And what is this disenchantment? We can understand it if we look back what was the world before disenchantment. It was an enchanted world. Enchanted world means the spirits, angels, demons, all these are present in the nature around. They are there in the world. An enchanted world means there are spirits of the jungles, spirits of the deserts. And these forces impinged on human beings. And human beings are porous, transparent to these forces around. They influence us and we draw energy from them, either favors or we suffer from their hatred. In an enchanted world, God is present everywhere, acting in the cosmos, founding and sustaining our societies, acting like a bulwark against evil. The good spirits were called upon to protect us from evil spirits. That was the view of an enchanted world. Now this worldview goes away with the rise of secular reason, disenchantment of the world, and now we can talk about it at least in 4 spheres. The first one is magic and the animated universe. Second, sacrality means sacredness and mysticism. And third, purpose and meaning. And fourth, spirituality and wonder. We will look at each one of these in details. You are with me? So the first one, magic and the animated universe. Now if you look at the pre-modern world, it was a world of magic. The enchanted world is a world of magic. Now magic is equated with religion. With holy water, something is happening, some magic is happening. So in the philosophical literature, we will find religion is very much associated with magic. And disenchantment, the word itself, that comes from the German word Entzauberung, the word Zauber, which means magic. So when Max Weber used this word, he meant demagification, getting rid of the magic. And then this was a positive move from within religion. For what? For delegitimating all practices for dealing with spirits and forces. There was witchcraft, so many people practicing it, and there were several superstitious practices that challenged our faith in God, or that those were blasphemous according to Catholic tradition. So this kind of a demagification, disenchantment was a necessity from within religion. Disenchantment was for religious reasons, to purify it. And regarding the animated universe, disenchantment removed the concept of a world that was animated by the spirits. See, the natural world was presented along the great chain of being, you might have learned. The natural world was along the great chain of being, the top of which was the purest form of being, and at the bottom level was pure matter. And the natural world had its origin in God. And the world, this natural world, participated in the supernatural. The invisible was present in the visible world. The invisible was operative in the visible that we saw around. But with the rise of modern science, this kind of a view gets deleted. Everything is governed or charged not with the divine power, but with electromagnetic forces. So this kind of a magic and the animated universe is erased, and we have a scientific worldview which is mechanistic, and you see nature as simple matter, stuff. The world is no longer enchanted. The divine, the sacred has no place in it. Now going to the second, the sacrality and mysticism. As I said, disenchantment meant losing the aspect of sacrality associated with things, persons, and places. In an enchanted view, things are sacred. A rosary is considered sacred. Holy water is considered something sacred. Certain persons, for example, priests or priestess, were considered as sacred. Places like chapel or church were considered as sacred. But with Protestant Reformation, this concept goes away. There are no more sacred images, no more objects charged with special divine powers like relics, no more sacred persons like priests or saints. Neither are there sacred places like churches. There is no mystery either. No mystery beyond rationality. Enlightenment rationality holds that everything could be known. Nothing is beyond the clutches of reason. And there are no mystical principles. Everything can be mastered by calculation. So this aspect of sacrality and mysticism goes away as a result of Reformation and Enlightenment rationality. Now the third sphere where this disenchantment happens is one concerned with purpose and meaning. And we know in the Aristotelian view, the world had a purpose. It has a final cause towards which everything is moving. And its meaning is derived from that final cause. In our Christian view too, this world is meaningful. It is moving towards an end. The world is enchanted, it is meaningful, it is entranced with meaningful because it is created by God. And God has given meaning to it. There is divine logos present in each and everything in the world. We read in the Bible, God spoke and the things were. It is the logos that became material things or things in the world. So everything in the world then pointed to God because there was the presence of logos in it. And everything received their meaning in relation to God. Now, in the modern scientific secular rationalistic view, there is no logos present in the world. Our scientific research finds only material stuff, atoms and electromagnetic forces. They act and react. There is no divine logos beyond that. No overarching meaning or purpose. And each one is to find value for himself. So man becomes the center of everything. He gives now meaning and purpose to everything around. The purpose and meaning is replaced now with capitalism, for example. Now, if there are no meanings to be found out, man has to find it. Now, in capitalism, he finds meaning in amassing capital, for example. And there were so many theories like that to give purpose and meaning to human being. Now, lastly, the sphere of spirituality and wonder. Now, here too, once the world is disenchanted, there is no space for wonder and awe. No profession is or call is more sacred or spiritual. The call of a priest or a nun is not above the call of a tailor. The life of a tailor is not different from any sacred call. The calls are all equal. An affirmation of ordinary life and self-realization is more important now with secular reason. And a family life with production, that is what is appreciated by the secular community. And so, this aspect of spirituality and wonder also moves away. If we look at all these four spheres of our life, the sacred has disappeared from there. But then, did it actually happen? Did we lose something with this process? Modern man has a nostalgia for something that they lost. And that's why if you look, they lost a dimension of a reality that we term the sacred. And this we can identify in the ability of all sciences to give meaning to our life. Though modern man tried to find out meanings, they could not. And they found that no ultimate or sublime values are there to orient us. If at all we need something, we had to invent. And people invented fascism, Nazism, communism as sublime values for them. But they found they failed us. And they failed us totally. So there is now a kind of re-enchantment, a retrieval of the sacred. I'm not going to deal with it in detail, but there is a coming back of enchantment, and it is not in the old forms, but in different forms. Religion makes a comeback across the world. If you look at the historical data, people are becoming more religious across the globe. They are returning to the enchanted world. Why? Within science, they reject the mechanistic view and move to a kind of organistic view. Now, by the enchanted world, people also tell, now life is more enchanting, be a fan of it. Or within disenchantment, or we protest against disenchantment because of ecological concerns. All these areas are of re-enchantment. But I stress on re-enchantment as the return of religiosity, as retrieving the sacred. What is happening there? Now, retrieving the sacred is an existential need for us. It is for the meaning of our life, meaning of each individual's life. Religion takes new forms. Cult and sect become prominent. If you look around, we can see that. It is not any traditional systematic religions, but cult and sects become prominent. Religion is relocated from church to cult. And what is the speciality there? There is no epistemological authority or rational foundation sought. This cult or sects, they are based more on feelings and passions. Because the world is disenchanted, because they are frightened of the secular move to disenchant, people now commit an intellectual sacrifice to live religious. They think that we have to sacrifice our intellect if we have to be religious, and that is happening with majority of the people around. We can see this in the rise of fanatic groups. There is no more rationality, no more intellectual analysis of religion, but purely passional, sentimental upholding of religious sentiments. Now, Christianity is not a cult, neither is it a sect. Now, Spinoza disenchanted the world in order to re-enchant it. And Christianity also holds almost the same relation. Catholic tradition never divorces secular reason, but embraces it, ever aware of its limitations. The sacred and secular remain in constant contact. Belittling either would be sacrificing the essential. As philosophers and theologians, we are to embrace secular reason, but never as deleting or erasing the sacred, but as means to purify our understanding of the sacred. Thank you.